Welcome to the Writer Reads Flash Fiction from another 365 days of flash fiction. Month 4, Day 3, A Delightful Rescue. Delight stalked the corridors of the empty satellite. Fury rolled off her in waves. Not stopping, she slammed a gauntleted fist into the wall beside her. The impact sent ripples of sound down the hall, all of which bounced back, carrying nothing more than their own echoes. She scanned the junction as she reached it, cooing softly, come out, wherever you are." No one answered, and she looked over her shoulder. "Damn it, Pritchard!" The closed doors to another chamber in the abandoned station beckoned, and she scanned them for tampering before doing some tampering of her own. "Gotcha," she murmured, stepping back and to one side as they slid open with a gasp of fetid air. The sensors on her helmet sent warnings across her HUD, and she'd drawn and started firing before the first sign of movement rippled across her vision. "Yes," she hissed as it did. The many-legged nightmare that lashed out from the cover of the wall came as no surprise, and her first spray of solids tore its torso apart before it was fully clear. The spider warrior dropped, ichor oozing from a multitude of cracks and divots in its carapace. "That'll teach you not to armor up," Delight snarled. "Now, what have you done with my much better-tempered half?" A soft chuckle greeted that statement, and she flipped through the visual modes the HUD offered before finding one that worked. "My, aren't you an oversized motherfucker?" she murmured, catching sight of the enormous arach. "Who says we need to armor ourselves?" it asked, and a small cloud of projectiles lifted away from its form. Delight slapped the door mechanism, dropping to the floor beside the wall as the door slid closed. Before it did, she fired one last round into the room and then began belly crawling back the way she'd come as fast as she could manage. 3, 2, 1. She kissed the floor, covering her head with her arms. The explosion ripped through the room beyond and then through the walls and floor, sending a wash of heat and more organic debris spraying into the corridor. As soon as it was over, Delight was back on her feet and racing for the gap, firing more of the explosive projectiles into the hole she'd created. This time she didn't bother waiting to see what might be an ambush. The explosion had ripped away the shielding that had prevented Jeremy coming up on her scans. The second life form was a surprise. "Pritchard, you sneaking, lying son of a... I've a good mind to leave you here." "For all the time I've got left, you might as well." Pritchard's usually mild tones were softer than usual, weak and thready with sickness and fatigue. Then he added, "I've called for help. You need to be nice." "Nice? Now why wouldn't I be—" The HUD picked up the signal of a small transport coming in. "Oh, for fuck's sake, Pritch, why them?" "Only one's close enough," Pritchard explained as Jeremy gave a short laugh. "Yeah, Cat, no pulling Mac's chain, or cutters either." Delight covered the last few meters in a bounce, taking advantage of the destroyed grav control. She made short work of the webbing holding Jeremy and Pritchard in place. She caught sight of movement under the silk binding Pritchard, and her stomach rolled. "How bad, Pritch?" "A couple of hours. They haven't really burrowed in yet," he wheezed. "I got you," she told him, pulling Jeremy clear and feeling guilt at the relief that flooded through her when she found him uninfested. "Tens!" she shouted. "I need an emergency teleport and a tank standing by for an instant immersion on my go. Can you do it?" It was no surprise when Mac's second in command rapped out a reply. "Profile? Pritchard. Locked." Moving fast so she didn't have to think about it, Delight thumbed the blazer from solids to flame and hit Pritchard's middle with a solid burst of fire. Two screams coincided with her own shriek of "Now! Now! 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 Now!" Pritchard vanished in a burst of silver light, and the spiderling that had been feeding on him dropped to the floor. The flamethrower made short work of that, too. It was Jeremy who pulled the blazer from her hand as he called the clear to tens. He still hadn't given it back as they stepped off the teleportation mat. "Where is he?" she snapped, tucking an arm around Jeremy's waist as he stumbled and taking her blazer back. She'd holstered it before she registered the medical team standing by. Reluctantly, she handed her fiancé over, finally looking for the captain who'd diverted to answer Pritchard's distress call. The look on his face was almost her undoing. but there was no way in hell she was going to cry. Not in front of Mac, or his team, or any fucking body. She was Agent Delight, Odyssey's top troubleshooter, and she did not cry. Ever. For anyone. At least, not until she'd reached the shelter of her cabin and broke all the carefully hidden surveillance gear that Tens put in standard to keep his ship safe. And then she wept, crying as she worked herself to exhaustion in a combat routine that had those watching in awe. She needs to sleep, Cutter said, staring at the screen. Mac laid a hand on her shoulder. Would you? He asked. If it had been me, would you sleep after? No, Cutter replied softly. Not until. She gestured at the screen and changed the subject. How's Pritchard? He'll live, Tens replied, and gave a mirthless laugh. Doc even says he'll grow it back. Again. Lucky guy. He kept Jeremy alive, convinced the arach matriarch the information he held was more valuable to her progeny's ability to wage war than anything a mere cook could know. Cutter stared at him. But Jeremy's not just a cook. Yeah, but the arach weren't to know that. Cutter gestured at the screen. And Delight? If she doesn't get some rest shortly, Doc's given me orders to put her under. With what? 'Cause I'm not going in there with a dart gun. Sleepy gas, Tens told her. I isolated the air circulation and have been letting it seep into the atmosphere for the last 3 minutes now. But, Cutter indicated the screen just as Delight muttered a soft expletive and crumpled to the floor. Well, I'm not going in there to tuck her in either. It's fine. Sugarsides will meet us for transfer before she wakes up. And they've got a job for us to do that'll put us well out of Delight's way for a good long while. Cutter snorted. Good luck with that. She forgets nothing. True, but she does get over it, Mac reminded her. Cutter turned back to the screen, remembering the injuries Pritchard had suffered and the less visible ones now haunting Jeremy's sleep. This time, getting over it might take a bit longer, even if they had survived.